And so I guess you put that to one side, what we're just talking about there and the gear and that kind of things, but it's also a subjective sport. So you might be taking all that stuff. And just like I said, social media is all about the way you present yourself. Bodybuilding is subjective, and you've been screwed over a number of times with the politics. And we'll talk about how you got, banned from the IFBB. But, in the 1997 Ironman, where I think Sean Ray screwed you over, where he came up, Flex came second.
Well, Sean come over. And it was like, I think you're going to beat Flex today and that. But I think Flex knew he said it. So Flex comes over and goes, yeah, Lee, I agree. You do look better than me, but because of who I am, I'm going to win. I just went, arsehole. And I ended up getting second again.
Fucking politics, yeah.
Yeah, it's always been politics. And it's always generally the bigger shows like the Arnold or the Olympia. Yeah, but there's always shows like that. And like you said, I got suspended a few. I think my first show was 93 and 94. I was on the cover of a magazine, Lee Priest Band, just because. No, to me, it's like, yes, we train hard, we do whatever. I understand promoters have to make money and everything else, but just the way some of the promoters and the organization treated the athletes, like we're the ones making you the money, at least just give us some respect. Like I'm all for give and take, but when I and I'd talk about it in the magazines, well, you can't say that, judges sleeping with competitors, you can't say that. I'm like, why not? If you run the sport, and a judge is sleeping with a competitor, that judge should not be judging that person on stage. So, because I'd speak openly about shit like that, I'd always get suspended and have to pay fines. I'm like, well, it's just stupid.
Yeah, it's just like a conflict of interest. You have like a review panel on anything, whether you're doing doctorate or whatever. It's you can't have someone on there who's working within the research team.
Well, you wouldn't have it in any other thing, would you? Imagine the Olympics if someone's ice skating or doing gymnastics and their coaches are judging. It's like, of course you're going to go. It's like you have people, the judges say it doesn't, but you can't help it if you're on a judge and let's just say you're a professor, you train at my gym, we're good friends, and you're on stage and it's sort of close. Who do you think I'm going to judge? I'm going to go for you. Even if the other guy looks a little bit better, I know my mate, I'll give him first. Just, human nature to do that sort of thing. So they shouldn't be judging people when they are close to them. Or even some of them in some of the girls' divisions, you'd have the girls' coaches on the judging panel. So it's like, of course, he's going to put them first because if his girls win, he gets more publicity, and a lot of them too get a percentage of the person's winning. So of course, they're first.
And so in the 2003 Olympia, there's that video on YouTube of the press conference with all the
where I stood up and handed the letter.
Yeah, and you passed the letter on. But that was coming up towards when you got your 1 year ban, and after you found out, when you did that show in England underway.
The PDI, I did one in New York and England. Yeah, but they told me after I did the one in New York, they said if you don't go to England, we won't really ban you. I said, look, I have to go. I said I've advertised on the posters there. People have brought tickets to see me. I'm going to go over and compete. Okay, then well, it's a 2 year ban and that, and then I eventually got my card back in around 2008. And then I moved back to Australia and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to compete anymore. And then John Romano and I used to do the Shotgun podcast where we just talked about politics in the sport. I talked about anything, whatever people asked. I guess they didn't like something that I said, so I got a lifetime ban from that point on. But I couldn't go to expos. Like even in Australia, Tony Doherty wouldn't let me go to expos. I couldn't go to IFBB shows. That's how pathetic it was. I'm like, how can you stop someone going to a show? I'm just general public now. What the fuck? It's like
watching, yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of sponsors dropped me because of the IFBB. They wanted to stay in with the IFBB. And I'd say to them, I don't get you. I said, you're a fucking coward. You're dumping me because I'm suspended because of the IFBB. Yeah. You're giving them, say, like it was Twin Lab or whoever it was, Pro Lab. I was with MD at the time. It's like you're giving them, let's just say, figure $100,000 to sponsor their show, and they're telling you what to do with your company and who you can sponsor. It's like without you sponsors, they can't put on the show. So why are you letting them dictate to you? Who it's just I don't understand the whole thing. It's that's the same with bodybuilders. I get mad at them because I'd stand up for them. And they're like, yeah, Lee, we agree. When push comes to shove, me and all my mates, where'd everyone go? It's like it's just me. And 2002, when I won to San Francisco, I always get to the meetings early. Wayne D'Amelio was there. He throws the MD mag on the table. What's this article? Just about the politics and that. I went, oh, yeah. We started having this big fucking argument, yelling at each other. My wife's Kathy was there. Then other people started coming in, and so quieting down. I said to Kathy, "I'm fucked tomorrow. I'm not going to do well." But I ended up winning the show. And he come over, he goes, "Lee, so how do you feel?" I said, "Good." I said, "I'm actually surprised I won." He goes, "No, you're the best on the day. You deserved it." I said, "Oh, I thought after the argument I wouldn't have placed well." He goes, "No." He goes, "Lee, I'll tell you something." He goes, "I like you because you speak your mind and stuff." He goes, "But you ask, why do I do what I do?" He goes, "It's simple." He goes, "You might make a noise and stand up and complain about it and say, no, this isn't fair. But the other 99 guys over there are going to do exactly as I say. And if I suspend you, they think that, well, shit, we better not do what Lee did." And that's the thing I couldn't understand. I told the guys, if we all stood together, what could they do? Yeah, they can suspend me. But if you've got like 15 of the top guys from the Olympia and we get all suspended, they're not going to have any fucking shows, are they, without their top athletes? So we have the power if we all stand together. But you'd hear stuff when I got suspended. "Oh, we're glad Lee's suspended. I can move up a place now." That's how it is. It's like, and the guys at the top, because people told me many times, "Lee, shut up." I was making probably 18, 20,000 a month just from endorsements and then competing and other stuff. I was doing well over there, so I could have shut up. But I said, it's not fair, because there's guys who place under me who I know bust their ass just as hard. They got families and stuff. They should be making money. So that's why I didn't think the Mr. Olympia that they called a Super Bowl of bodybuilding, if you're out of the top 10, you go home with $0. That's why that press conference, when I asked Wayne, and Wayne's like, "Lee, you said if I didn't, did you get up and walk out of here?" I said, "No, actually, I put it in writing, Wayne. And from that day on, if you had the top 10, you got $2,000, which isn't enough, but at least it's something, isn't it? 2 grand's better than, see you later." So I just didn't think it was fair for other people. But yet you needed the guys up the top to take a stand, but they wouldn't, because they're like, "Oh, I'm sitting pretty. Why do I have to worry about the other guys?" I said, because they're pretty much your teammates. You got to look after them too, because they're training just as hard as you. Like you said, politics could be keeping them out of the money, or some of these guys are just that good. Just spread the money out more to those guys rather than the promoters getting all greedy. But every time I mentioned something, I'd get in trouble.
And you faced heaps of adversity throughout your career. Like, you were at the age of 16, you could have won your pro card. You won Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Australia 16, 17, 18, 19. Every year they said you were too young, and then
Mm-hmm.
basically went over to Niagara Falls, and then they gave you your pro card so you could compete in the pro show.
Yeah.
Talk us through that. There was Jay Cutler as well, who said about that age of 21, you looked
Mm-hmm.
like the best bodybuilder he had ever seen. You're intimidating.
Yeah.
But do you think it was because they were scared that their larger cohort of athletes was in that kind of early 20 age group, and if they brought someone in who was younger, they was just going to run the show and
Mm-hmm.
clean up?
I don't know. It's weird, because I'm sure if I had been American, I've always said if I was 17 in America, I probably would be like, "Oh, let's put him everywhere. He's a young American." So being from Australia, it's like, my great grandmother, I used to always laugh, because before she passed away, she knew I was going to America. She's like, "Don't let him go to America. Remember what they did to Farlap and all this stuff." It's like they're not going to kill me. Come on now. So, but they just punish me other ways. So, yeah, it's hard to say, because it's always a good compliment when I hear. I think even Ronnie Coleman, when they said, "What was your biggest thing in bodybuilding?" He's like, being beat by Lee Priest. And Jay Cutler said now he'd seen Ronnie and everyone, but Lee Priest was more impressive. I think Dave Plummer too on
when you beat Ronnie, I think
97. I beat Ronnie. I beat Ronnie 7 times in 97.
7.
He says 5, but it was 7. I said, don't remind him of 7, because it might destroy him even more. But to hear him say that, to hear Jay say that, they asked Ed Connors, who owned Gold's Gym in Venice. You've seen all the bodybuilders that stay at your house and come through the gym. Who's the freakiest? He goes, have to be Lee Priest. So to get compliments like that was always nice. And, when it comes to winning shows too, because I'd speak my mind in the big shows. Look, I knew I was never going to win a Mr. Olympia, because I get the haters online. "You never won a Mr. Olympia. You suck." I'm like, I got top 6 quite a few times. And back then, there was only one open. There was no weight classes. So to me, getting in the top 6 in the Mr. Olympia was like a win. But even getting the top 10, because I'd always do those Battle for the Olympia videos. I'd joke around that I'm training for 10th place. Because if you got 10th place, that qualified you for next year's Olympia. So if my heart was set on 10th and I got 6th, 5th, or 7th, I'm like, "Oh, that's a bonus, isn't it? It's 3 more places higher than I thought I was going to get." So they're going into shows. to win, and that I never had that attitude. It's like I just trained hard, got in the best shape I could be in because I knew what the politics involved and everything else. So some days I actually got, like I said, I've competed in the IFBB since '06. I'm still probably one of the most talked about out there, where just because it's outrageous in what I say and what I do. But I always had that good fan following because I didn't bullshit people. I didn't try to be a certain way just so people like me. I'm like, hey, this is how I am. You either like me or you don't. And I still got that big fan following. So it's been pretty good that way. But yeah, I just went on stage being the best I could. And sometimes that was even better because I could go on stage and look better than the guy that won and the guy that got second. And the fans can see that. So I didn't have to say anything. You know, a lot of guys be like, I should have won this. I'm like, I didn't say anything. I just let the fans go online and they'd be like, Lee was ripped off and that. And sometimes you get more fans that way because they see you getting screwed, so they get behind you more.